Today we're going to go through and talk about all the top running backs in the league and rank them. Let's get into it. What is up, everybody? Roman here. In today's video, we are starting a new series on the channel where we are going to talk about each position and rank all the players in that position. Today's video is going to be running back. The next one is going to be wide receiver, then tight end, quarterback, so on and so forth. I also plan on doing the kickers and defenses as well, to the best of my abilities, obviously. With that being said, essentially the format of this video is I have tier lists of all the different types of players. Each player is going to go into a certain tier. We're going to talk about them. I'm going to kind of skim through each player so I don't take up too much time, because if I was to individually focus on each player, it would take a really long time. But obviously, I'm going to highlight the ones, the kind of things that I want to mention and stuff like that. With that being said, let's hop into it and start off with the number one tier. That is going to be the elite tier, or formerly known as the S tier. These are the best of the best running backs in the league. There's going to be three players that fall into this category. That is going to be Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, and CMC. Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs are currently both the 101 and the 102 in fantasy overall, and I perfectly agree with that. I think that their upside is really good. Their floor is also really good. They're super talented players. Whichever one you choose over the two, I don't really mind. I'm cool with both of them going in those spots. CMC last year was the number one running back in the league, as well as the number one player in fantasy overall. He averaged 24.51 points per game. Really, really good option. And he does have a history with injuries, so that's the only reason he's kind of lower on this list. If we knew for sure that he was, say, younger and was going to be healthy, he'd probably be number one on the list. But for now, he's third. Still a really good option at the 106. I think he's definitely a league winner, but he does have a bit of that injury concern. Hopping into the next category, that is going to be the running back ones. These are players that you're comfortable with having in your running back one position. You know that they're going to produce, you know they're going to play well. That is going to be Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, Saquon Barkley, Ashton Jeanty, Devon Achane, and Chase Brown. Jonathan Taylor, really good season last year in the beginning, fell back down to earth after Daniel Jones got injured, but I expect him to continue to produce. I'm not too worried about his production. I think he's easily a top 5 running back in the league right now. James Cook, year in and year out, I doubt this guy, but year in and year out, he continues to produce. He is more of a touchdown dependent running back, but he's on one of the best offenses in the league. So you expect him to be at the goal line, you expect him to produce, and the 17.78 points per game is self-explanatory. I think he's a really good option, especially at the 112. I really like him there. Saquon, bit of a down year last year, but I do think he's going to be bouncing back this year, back to kind of his former self. The Eagles look to be healthier. I think Eagles overall are going to be playing a lot better this year. I think Saquon is going to benefit the most from that. Of course, I don't know if he's going to be producing as well as he did 2 years ago, but I think he's going to be around that 20 points per game range for sure. Ashton Jeanty, rookie year wasn't the best. I kind of expected that, but now he's going on to year 2. The Raiders have a pretty decent O-line now. They have a new QB in Kirk Cousins and Fernando Mendoza. I think Kirk's probably going to be starting there, but it doesn't really matter because the receiving options aren't the greatest. The only really good option there is Brock Bowers, and I kind of expect this offense to be run through Ashton Jeanty and Brock Bowers. So I expect Jeanty to kind of excel and really just produce heavily this year. I know some people are out on Jeanty. I really like him. I think he's a really, really good option. His ADP is the 108 according to Fantasy Pros, but I don't really know if that's the case. I think I see him go a lot later usually, but I have seen him go earlier as well. But I think he's a super, super good option this year. I really like Jeanty. Devon Achane, a lot of people are concerned with the rebuild Miami's going into. If you're kind of looking at it, Devon Achane really is the only option over there, and I expect the offense to be running mainly through him. I think he's going to get a lot of chuck downs. He's going to get a lot of running opportunities. He's going to have a super, super safe floor. The ceiling might be a bit capped from what it used to be, but I still expect him to be producing. I'm not worried about him going down in value. I still think he's a solid running back one. And then to end off this tier is going to be Chase Brown. Chase Brown, I think, is a really, really good option at the 203. I'd say he typically falls a little bit later, but no matter where he goes, in the second round, he's honestly my favorite player to come off the board. I think he's going to have a really good season. I'm super hyped to watch him play. He has the receiving upside. He has explosive play upside. He has a really safe floor, and there's not really anybody there that he's competing with for runs. Samaje Perine, I don't know if he's going to really eat into his play. I don't expect that to be happening. Super high-powered offense, and he's going to be benefiting from that. He's going to be ending off the running back one tier list. Hopping into the third tier, this is going to be players that you can have as your running back one, but preferably the running back two position. It's going to be Omarion Hampton, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Kenneth Walker, and Javonte Williams. Omarion Hampton, I think, is going to have a really good season this year. The Chargers are looking like a really, really good team. The O-line should be healthy, beefed up. They look really solid. They have Mike McDaniel as the head coach, We saw what Mike McDaniel did with Devon Achane, and I kind of expect the same thing to happen with Amari and Hampton. I think him going at the 2-1 is a fair price as well. I still prefer Chase Brown over him just a little bit, but it's kind of like a Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs situation where if you choose one over the other, I'm not opposed to it. Another high-powered offense. I think he's going to be super involved. Not a lot of competition in the running back room there. I think he's going to have a really good year. Derrick Henry, he's going to be 33 years old now, if I remember correctly. I still think he's going to be a solid producer. I don't think he's going to be dealing with injuries or anything like that. It's going to really depend on Lamar Jackson mainly, but Lamar looks to be healthy as well. I think Derrick Henry is going to continue to produce. Josh Jacobs, legal troubles over the summer, but he's still a solid producer. 15.81 points per game last year. Nobody really there to compete with running with him. Another decent offense to be on. He gets the chuck downs and stuff like that. He's going to be solid. His ADP is 406, but I think it's going to probably level out around the third round. I don't think the NFL is really going to do anything to punish him. Rashee Rice played after his stuff. Maybe next year they'll do something to him, but this year I expect him to play and not really be worried about that. Kenneth Walker, 11.29 points per game last year, currently going as the 204. If I'm being honest, I really prefer Saquon, Achane, Omari, and Chase Brown over Kenneth Walker. I don't really like Kenneth Walker. He's never really shown us that he's been an elite running back one, and you're kind of drafting him to be that, especially if you take a wide receiver first round. I understand the hype. I know the big contract, everybody's super hyped. He's going on a really good team. I would much rather see him play this year, and if he does play well, be excited about him the year after as he has a multi-year deal, rather than kind of take the risk and not really know what he's going to do. It's more of, it makes sense that he should excel, which is why he's in this category. If I really didn't believe in him, I'd put him in the category below. I think he can do well, but I just haven't really seen that happen yet. And it's more of, let me see how he plays this year. Next year, I can look at him. I think the guys going around him are much better options this year. Then Javonte Williams starting off this tier. Javonte is not really one of those flashy names. He's one of the names that people don't really talk about, but really solid production last year, 15.18 points. He's going at the end of the third round, essentially the fourth round. And I think if you're getting Javonte there, that's a really, really good price for a running back too. He's going to be productive. He's on another high-scoring offense, which is something that you kind of see with these players here in the top, is they're either super, super talented or they're on a really, really good high-scoring offense. And Javonte is on another offense that is super high scoring. I expect him to be the running back one there. Really no competition in the backfield. He's going to be solid this year, a great running back two. Going into the next category, this is going to be running back twos. These are players that I would strictly keep in the running back two category. If they're my running back one, I'd be a little bit more worried. It's going to start off with Jeremiah Love, Travis Etienne, Kyron Williams, Breece Hall, Cam Scatterbo, and DeAndre Swift. I want to talk about Jeremiah Love real quick. I know he's a super hyped up prospect. He's super elite. He did really good in college. My only reason for why I have him in the running back two category is because of the situation he got put in, which he's going to be in the Arizona Cardinals. They have James Conner, they have Tyler Algier, and Trey Benson. On paper is a really solid running back committee. Now you add an elite player to them. I don't really know. I don't know what his production is going to be this year. Ashton Genty was technically put in a bit of a better situation last year. He was the only option really over there on the Raiders. Yes, the O-line was really bad, but how much better is the O-line for the Cardinals? They were the third worst team in the league last year. And on top of that, you have Tyler Algier, you have James Conner, you have Trey Benson. He's going to be competing with these guys. Obviously, he's going to be the running back one there. Don't expect him just to be taking 70% of the snaps. Doesn't make sense to play him out all that much anyway. You're not going to be winning, which you're paying third round capital for him. He's going pretty much late second, early third round, which is, again, pretty crazy. You're banking a whole lot on a rookie. I think he's going way too early. If he was going around the fifth round, I'd be like, okay, you can take him there, but you're paying third round capital for him. I'd rather take the receivers there, the other running backs that are going there. I'm avoiding Jeremiah Love this year. He's another Kenneth Walker situation where I would rather see what he does this year. Next year, he makes a lot more sense. Obviously, in Dynasty, he's a really good pick, but this is redraft. Travis Etienne going on a solid team. He's going to be the running back one over there on the Saints. He himself had a really good season last year. I like his ADP at 402. I think it's a really good place to take him. He's going to be productive. He's going to have another good year. I'm expecting a similar year as last year, maybe a little bit better. He's going to be a solid running back two option. Kyron Williams, great season last year, 15.94 points, currently going in the third round. I know Blake Corum is supposed to be getting around 50% of the snaps this year. People are a little bit out on Kyron, but Kyron has that receiving upside. And again, it's a really high-powered offense. Kyron gets involved. He has a receiving upside. I like him. I think he's going to be a solid running back too. Breece Hall, super talented running back on a super bad offense. And I don't think a whole lot has really changed there. They have Geno Smith, which Geno Smith might be an upgrade over Justin Fields, but I don't know about how much. The receiving room is looking pretty decent. I like Garrett Wilson. I like Omar Cooper, Kenyon Sadiq. Those are good options for receiving, as I expect the Jets to be down and kind of throwing the ball more. Obviously, it's not like he doesn't catch the ball. He's going to catch the ball, but it just not the best offense to be in. They're going to be down a lot. They're going to be throwing the ball. I don't really like Breece Hall, but as a running back too, I think he's not bad. Cam Scatterbo, really good season last year until he got injured, 15.96 points per game. I think he's going to be solid this year. He should be coming off his injury. The Giants look like a pretty decent team, but I think Cam Scatterbo is going to be super involved. I'm not worried about Tyrone Tracy kind of eating into his play. As long as he stays healthy, he's going to be a good producer, a great running back too as well. And then ending off this tier list is going to be DeAndre Swift. He goes in the 502, and if I'm being honest, I think DeAndre Swift is a really, really good take in the 5th round, especially if, say, you avoid running backs up until the 5th round. But if that is the case, make sure you take one of the top guys in the early rounds. So players in the elite category or the running back 1 category, make sure you have one of them, and then you grab DeAndre Swift in the 5th round if, say, you want to snag a good tight end, a quarterback, 2 good wide receivers before you get to the 5th round. I really like DeAndre Swift. He's the true running back 1 over there in Chicago. I'm not worried about Kyle Monungai. He did have some flashy plays last year, but he averaged 8.63 points. DeAndre Swift averaged 14.29. He's going to be the better running back over there. He's going to be getting a lot more opportunities. I like DeAndre Swift in the 5th round. Going into the next category, this is going to be the flex category. These are players that I'm okay with having in my flex, but nothing else. If I'm being honest, I'm a bit kind of worried if they're my running back too. I'm not the biggest fan of this. It's going to be Bucky Irving, Quinshawn Judkins, Travion Henderson, David Montgomery, Chuba Hubbard, Tony Pollard, and Jadarian Price. Bucky Irving, 13.85 points last year, but he was dealing with injuries. Theoretically, he should be healthy. He should be good to go this season, but they do bring in Kenneth Gainwell, who himself averaged 13.02 points. I think Kenneth Gainwell is really going to eat into Bucky's play. Kenneth Gainwell is a really, really good receiving back. He played really well. I mean, obviously, he averaged 13.02 points. And I think he's going to eat into Bucky's play, which is why Bucky, I think, is going to be a bit more capped this year. I still expect him to be the running back 1, which is why he's this high up and Kenneth Gainwell is lower. Quinshawn Judkins, coming as a Cleveland Browns fan, Quinshawn Judkins is a really good running back for real life. When it comes to fantasy, it's a bit more shaky. He's super dependent on touchdowns. If he doesn't get you touchdowns, he can put up 4 points. He really needs the touchdowns, but again, he's linked to a really bad offense in Cleveland. Yes, our receiving room has upgraded. We're fine there. Quarterback play, we don't know what's going on there. Don't expect Cleveland to be leading a ton of games. They're going to be down. They're going to be throwing the ball. And Quinshawn isn't really a receiving back. That's more of Dylan Sampson's role. I'm not the biggest fan for the price that you're paying for Quinshawn. I know people really want Quinshawn to do well. I don't think it's going to happen this year. He's really going to be more of matchup dependent. He's not somebody you're comfortable plugging into your lineup and playing there. Travion Henderson, a lot of hype with Travion. I think Ramondre Stevenson is going to be eating into his production a lot more than people like to admit. He's still on the team. Next year, Travion looks a lot more appealing. Ramondre Stevenson's contract is going to be ending with the Patriots, and Travion is going to look really good next year. I still think Ramondre is going to be involved, which is why I have him here in the flex tier again. 5th round, going around the same place as Judkins and Bucky. I'd rather have Bucky between all of them, but again, he's more of a flex play for me. David Montgomery, another player that people really, really like this year. He's going to be the running back 1 over there on the Texans. I don't know how I feel about Montgomery. He's a bit older now. The Texans overall, I'm not the biggest fan of their team this year. Every year, the Texans are super hyped up, and then CJ Stroud plays bad. I mean, last year, there wasn't really a high-producing running back coming out of there. Nick Chubb didn't have a lot of success. Woody Marks didn't have a ton of success either. He averaged 9.44 points. And Montgomery should elevate the offense there a little bit, but I don't know if it's enough to have him as a running back too. I think he's more of a flex type of play running back as well. I don't know. I just don't really know how I feel about Montgomery. He should be higher technically, but I think he fits more in the flex category. He's not going to be somebody you can plug in and be comfortable. Okay, he's going to be producing. It's going to be more, again, based off the matchup. If you guys disagree with me, let me know. I think he's going to be more of a flex play this year. Chuba Hubbard, a lot of hype going around Jonathan Brooks. I think Chuba's going to be the running back 1 here. I think he's going to be super productive. Rico Dotto's not going to be eating into his play. He's not going to be dealing with injury. 7th round is super, super fair for where he's going. I think he's a great player to take in the 7th round. I really like him there. Tony Pollard, he's the running back 1 on the Titans. Tajay Spears is more of their receiving role, but Tajay Spears also deals with injuries every year. He's not super involved over there on that offense. It's more of Tony Pollard. The issue with Tony Pollard, he's not super productive. He can get a ton of possessions, a ton of runs, and then he only averaged 10.93 points last year. So again, he's more of that flex play, but depending on the week, he might have a better matchup. He can do really well, which is why he's in that flex category. Darian Price, ADP is 607. Again, drafted as the 32nd overall player in the draft. I think he's going to have a pretty big role here, but later on in the season, it might be interesting to see what happens because Zach Charbonnet is going to come back. Emmanuel Wilson is there on the team as well. It might be more of a committee back once Charbonnet comes back, but for the beginning of the year, I think he's going to be pretty productive. But the Seahawks also have a bit of a tougher schedule as the champs, so more of a flex play as well. Not too comfortable with him being my running back too. What you will see in this category is a lot of pairings. And I couldn't really rank one guy above the other and put him in the flex because these guys are pretty split in production and they're pretty split with how much points per game they averaged last year. So it's going to start off with Jaylen Warren and Rico Dowdle. I think that out of everybody in this category, they're the best options. I prefer Jaylen Warren over Rico Dowdle because of that receiving upside. Again, they're more of like that 10 to 13 points per game range, more of kind of flex plays. If one of them gets injured, he's going to have a bigger role. Keep them on the bench, store them, and then the insane upside at some point. If somebody gets injured, you can plug them in and kind of be okay with that. I prefer Jaylen Warren, which is why his ADP is 609. I think a lot of people rank him highly. He's a good player. RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins are going to be the next pairing here. RJ Harvey is going higher than J.K. Dobbins because of the receiving upside, but both of them not the most productive last year. I don't think they're going to be super productive this year again. I don't really know. I don't like the running back pairing here. There are two players that I avoid. Again, if you want to take them, they're most likely going to be on your bench, hoping that they have some sort of upside as the season goes on. Next is going to be Chris Rodriguez and Byshell Tootin. When I exported this, Byshell Tootin was on this, but for some reason it deleted him. And just imagine that Byshell Tootin is here. Maybe you could put Byshell Tootin in the flex category, but I think Chris Rodriguez, having a history with Liam Cohen, is going to kind of play into his production there. I think he's going to be a bit more involved than people think. Maybe like a 45-55 type of split. And Chris Rodriguez wasn't insanely productive in Washington, but he was pretty decent. He was like around that 10 points per game. He had some games that were really bad because it was like a committee there. He averaged 7.8 points per game last year, but he was on good times having around the 10 to 15 points per game mark. I really think he can have opportunity here in Jacksonville, which is why I have him and Byshell in this category. Aaron Jones and Jordan James, both splitting the field. Aaron Jones kind of has the receiving upside, but they're not productive. They're not really good options. They're like last case scenario, you plug them into your lineup and hope that one of them does well. But last year they did pretty bad. Maybe one of them kind of upgrades and does better this year, but I don't really like either of them. I'm avoiding the two of them. Ja'Cory Krosky-Marriott and Rachaad White. I think Rachaad White, as the vet, and he played with Jaden Daniels back in college, is really going to favor him to be the starter there. And he's going in the 9th round. Rachaad White is one of my favorite players overall in fantasy to come off in those later rounds. I think he's going to have a really big role there and pre-Bucky type of production when he was in Tampa. Tyler Algier, Ramondre Stevenson, and Blake Corum. These are all backups to guys that are pretty solid producers. Ramondre Stevenson is the only one that is kind of interesting here because last year he averaged 12.77 points, actually outproducing Travion Henderson, but there's more hype around Travion. People like Travion more, so Ramondre kind of falls into this category. But again, I think it's going to be a bit more split than people like to admit. And then the last category we have here is handicap. These are the guys, I don't even have stats for some of them, just kind of the ones I want to talk about. These are the guys that you're keeping on your team just in case somebody gets injured. They can have an opportunity to play, but you're not really drafting these players all that much. They're more of, again, if you have a Bijan, you take Brian Robinson Jr. If you have Chuba Hubbard, you can take Jonathan Brooks, David Montgomery, Woody Marks, kind of those types of plays. They're pretty much just more premium backups and stuff like that. The guys I want to talk about are going to be Jonathan Brooks, Woody Marks, Kyle Monangai, and Kenneth Gainwell. Kenneth Gainwell, like I mentioned before, I think he can have a pretty decent role over there in Tampa. The receiving play is really, really good from him. He can be pretty decent over there. Kyle Monangai, he's going at the 9th. I think people are thinking that he's going to be more split with DeAndre Swift, but I think DeAndre Swift's going to be the true running back one there. He's going to continue to produce. I like DeAndre Swift, so I have Kyle Monangai more as a handicap just in case, because when DeAndre Swift did get injured, Kyle Monangai was pretty productive, but when DeAndre Swift plays, he outproduces Kyle. So Woody Marks as well, going in the 11th round. He has a bit of that receiving upside. Seems to be like a fun player, but David Montgomery is going to be the running back one there. Woody Marks, again, just another handicap player you kind of keep on your team just in case. And then kind of the bigger player here, the one that everybody's hyped about this season, is Jonathan Brooks. A lot of people think that Jonathan Brooks is going to be the running back one over there in Charlotte. I'm looking at it like this. Jonathan Brooks hasn't played a game in the NFL yet. I think maybe he had like 2 or 3 games beginning of the season, like rookie year, and then he got injured. Didn't play it all last year. He's not really kind of caught up to this NFL level. Like, yeah, you can train it and watch it, but actually play it is completely different. As well as that injury concern. Like, I mean, he got injured twice. Like, he hasn't played in the NFL really at all. I don't know why the hype is really there. Yes, the coach said that there's opportunities for him, but I think Chuba Hubbard is just a better option. I think Chuba Hubbard is going to be the true running back one there. And I view Jonathan Brooks more of just a handicap, but he's a super high drafted handicap. 8th round. He's going in the 8th, essentially 9th round. I don't really like him there. I think Chuba Hubbard is going to be the running back one. Chuba, however you pronounce it. I'm not the biggest fan of Jonathan Brooks this year. I know a lot of people are super hyped and maybe this is a controversial take, but I think he's more of a handicap play. With that being said, that is all the running backs ranked here. There's some players on here that aren't on the list. Maybe if something changes, like a Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon type of players, something changes for them, they get signed, maybe they'll be on this list, but most likely they'll kind of be towards the bottom anyway. I don't think they're going to be hopping into the flex and up category, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. The next video is going to be about the wide receivers and then all the other positions. A lot of time and effort went into doing this research, getting all the ADPs, points per games, as well as editing all this. So if you could leave a like, if you can leave a comment, kind of engage with the video, subscribe as well to the channel. I really love making these videos, and it's fun to see kind of people engaging and watching as well. So I really appreciate you being here. We'll see you guys in the next video, and peace out.